Hi, thank you so much for watching your Multicultural channel, Community Hour. My name is Fernanda Vallejo, and today I have a special guest. But we want to create awareness because the number of domestic violence issues are rising in our country, especially here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I want to welcome Sherry Winstanley, the founder of S.H.A.D.E Winnipeg. Welcome, Sherry.
Thank you so much for having me here.
You're welcome. Sherry, how are you doing today?
Pretty good.
Very good. Okay, so the audience would like to know a bit more about you. Who's Sherry?
Okay, so my name is Sherry Winstanley, and I have been a resident of Winnipeg for a very long time. In 2014, after a year of searching for board members, I founded S.H.A.D.E, Safe Housing and Directed Empowerment, which is a charitable nonprofit. Well, we got charitable status backlogged to June of 2016. And the whole purpose is to be able to work with immigrant and refugee women who've been impacted by domestic violence and just help them, support them on their healing journey.
So Sherry, do you have any idea of how many women you had support during this time?
Oh, for sure. For S.H.A.D.E, we've supported, I think the number is now about 130 women that hail from, now we're up to 31 different countries and 13 different languages.
And how do you communicate with them? They speak English? Do you need interpreters?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, we do speak with them, and when there is a need, we will get interpreters.
Okay, so today we want to create awareness. How someone can notice that you're going through IPV?
How can somebody notice? Yeah, there's definitely some red flags. So initially, a lot of speed. Like if you're getting into the relationship too quickly, whether it's the person wanting to spend all of their time with you, or a very quick engagement or a very quick marriage, that could be a red flag. Love bombing could be a red flag. Showering you with gifts and attention. That's not really normal. I mean, you might be flattered, but love bombing could be a sign. Jealousy for sure is a sign. There's just so much isolation. Preventing you from carrying on with your normal friendships, your family relationships, because that's your support system. And abusers really try to get you away from your support system so that they have complete control over you. Yeah.
And do you think these abusers really know what are they doing? Is like in their plans, or or is
Yes, they do know what they're doing. And they may say that they don't, but they get to know your vulnerabilities, and they don't share a lot about themselves, but they get to know you, and you share a lot about yourself, but you don't really know a whole lot about them. And so then it's kind of like a hook. They hook you into falling in love, and then you can get trapped into that whole cycle of violence, which is really scary over time.
Okay, tell me more about the cycle of violence, please.
The cycle of violence, it will start, not very often. So you're going to be honeymooned. And that basically means you're going to be, it's a very happy, enjoyable time for you, where you're getting gifts, you're being treated well, you're being spoken to well, and everything seems very good. But then tension builds, and what happens is you might be threatened, or you might be manipulated, and you feel like you're walking on eggshells, and you're not really sure what's happening. And then there's an explosion. It could be a fight, it could be, name calling, it could be physical, it could be neglect of, say, prescription medication that you need, or not allowing you to go to the doctors to take care of yourself. Like, there's just a number of things, but there is an actual situation that has, we call it, exploded. And then after that, and you're frightened, you're terrified, it brings a lot of fear. After that, then you go back up to, well, honeymoon stage. Like I didn't really do it. Like, you know, if you hadn't told me to do this, then this wouldn't have happened. There's a lot of shirking responsibility.
What's happening when you are living under this cycle of violence? How you can notice, because a lot of women, we normalize, we think that we're in love, it's part of the relationship to have arguments, but what's really happening there?
It's all about power and control, okay? You know that hey, something's not like right, something's off, and just the whole feeling that you're walking on eggshells alerts you, but you want to deny it, especially when the cycle comes back to the honeymoon phase. Of course, we fell in love with these people for a reason, so we want it to stay in the honeymoon phase. We don't want to admit to ourselves or to anyone else that something is changing in the relationship. And the thing with the cycle of violence, it may be, you know, once in 6 or 3 months, but what happens over time is that the cycle becomes more compacted. It happens more frequently, and there are more severe outcomes.
Okay. What a woman can do to quit, to leave this toxic relationship? What are the first steps?
Yeah. What are the first steps? Well, she needs to acknowledge, or she, I mean, I use she because I work with women, but I totally admit that domestic violence happens with men and it happens with same-sex partners, but I work with women, so, you know, don't crucify me on that, the gender-based usage. What happens is she really needs to admit to herself that this is happening, because it's only the person, the victim, that can get herself out. You have to own your own decisions. You can't just expect somebody else, even somebody from your support system, to make that decision for you, because there's consequences to all the decisions we make. So we need to get back a good support system, one that we trust, and we need to start making safe plans. We do a lot of safety planning with our women.
Okay. So we're trying to create awareness, right? But the decision is yours. How about the safety planning? What do we need to know? What kind of important documents we need to save? How to protect ourselves?
Well, I mean, all of your identification documents. So that could be your birth certificate, your marriage certificate, because at least in Canada, the courts require the original marriage certificate. Okay. If you have children, the birth certificates of the children. If you have passports, your passports, because those are photo ID, like driver's license. We need photo ID. If you have a permanent resident card or your landing certificate, those are important ID. Make sure you keep those. They should be with you even when you go outside of the house if you're suspecting you're in an abusive relationship, because you do not want your important documents to be either destroyed or hidden so that you have no access to them.
How about if we don't have access to the documents, like they are already hidden? What can we do?
If you have any documents that are Canadian, you can go to Vital Statistics for some of them. You can go back and just get them reprinted out. If you are missing your marriage certificate, you can go back to your country if you have relatives there and get another copy sent to you.
Well, but it's a matter of time, eh?
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Is there a difference in belief system between an abuser and someone who does not abuse?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay.
There's a vast difference between the abuse system between somebody who is abusing and somebody who desires a relationship. So, you know, like, I really hope that some of the information that I'm saying here brings aha moments to our viewers. So for somebody who is abusing, they operate under 3 main premises or beliefs. And one is that I am central, I am superior, and I am deserving. And when I say I am deserving, I'm talking about I'm deserving of many privileges in the relationship.
Okay.
Whereas if you are a person like most of us who desire a relationship, you want connection. That's the number one thing. You want connection with your partner, and you value that relationship, and you enjoy the relationship. You also want the relationship to be equal and mutual. So when I say equal, both people bring important qualities into the relationship that are respected and valued. And when I say mutual, I'm saying that, both of you take care of each other's needs, like they're acknowledged and they're validated. When you are suspecting that you're in an abusive relationship and you know what the belief system is of an abuser, then you can ask yourself 3 questions. If he believes that he's central, well, where does that put me?
Exactly.
So obviously it puts you not in the center, it puts you on the periphery or the fringes or the outside of that relationship. And the second question you can ask yourself is, if he believes he's superior, where does that put me?
Exactly.
Well, you're inferior. As far as he's concerned, you're inferior. And that's not a really pleasant way to think of yourself. And the third question is, if he believes that he is deserving, take the DE off. You are serving him. And honestly, if you're serving the person that you love or thought you loved, you're going to be exhausted.
Yeah, and there's a big difference between being in a relationship or being a mom of your partner.
Yes. So, and not only are you going to be exhausted, there are other very practical things here. Like, if he believes he's deserving, he might ruin your credit rating. He might destroy you financially because he might expect you to get a credit card and rack up expenses that are his expenses, or he might expect you to go get a line of credit and then ask you for the money, but your name is on that line of credit, and you are the one that's going to be held responsible. So beware of these kind of expectations that are red flags, for sure.
So what kind of abuse exists? Like physical abuse, mental abuse. Tell me a little bit.
Like a lot of people think that abuse is just physical, but it's so much more. The emotional, mental, psychological it's in every kind of abuse. But there's sexual abuse, and we distinguish sexual from physical, but obviously, sexual is physical abuse too. And then there's financial abuse, and there's also neglect.
Can you explain me a bit more about the neglect?
Yes, I think I alluded to it a few moments ago when I said, like, if you are a person who is disabled or has some kind of challenge physically, and you need certain prescription medication, or you need to go to your specialist doctors, and you are prevented from doing so, either transportation-wise or you're just not allowed out of the house, that is neglect, because you have some needs that are being met or not being met.
Now, for someone that has been isolated, how this person can escape of that isolation or move to see the real world, what's really happening?
Yeah, it's really hard. A really good thing to escape isolation is get employed. Get a job, or start going to school so that you can get some kind of a career that will eventually lead to income earning for yourself. Because when you're isolated, the only worldview and the only messages you're getting are from your abuser, and you need to be able to hear other messages from other people. So you need to hear from your family members, you need to hear from, people that are living a normal life outside of abuse.
Right. How can we know we are living in a healthy relationship?
Well, there's a number of qualities that we can look at. Like, for example, we all think like love, but love is more than just a fuzzy, warm feeling or a deeply intense feeling for someone. Love is an action.
Okay.
We have to remember that. And respect. We need respect. I want respect from anybody, whether they're my intimate partner or a family member or a friend or a coworker. I expect to be treated the way I want. I want to be treated the way I treat other people. I want other people to treat me the way I want to be treated, right? So that honesty, like, we want to know that what we share is validated, and we're not afraid to share something that's very important and vulnerable to us without being condemned. And we don't want to hide important information from people. So if you're hiding, something's off in that relationship. Expectations. We should all have expectations in a healthy relationship. And so if you find that your relationship, your expectations are becoming less and less and less, that's another red flag that perhaps this is not healthy.
Okay.
You know, consistency. We need our lover to be consistent so that we can depend on them.
Yeah, so and in every relationship we want to have arguments. That's pretty normal.
Of course.
Right? So that doesn't mean that we're being abused. So we
No,
want
no.
people to separate or get divorced only because an argument, but we want you to recognize
Yes, of course.
when you're being abused.
Of course.
So Sherry, after a victim separates or leaves the abusive relationship, what's usually happening with the abuser?
There's still post-separation abuse.
Okay.
I think everybody needs to know that just because you have left the abusive relationship doesn't mean the abuse stops. It does not. And especially if you have children, and especially if you're going through the court system. And I don't say justice system because I don't believe our system is justice. I believe victims are not getting what they need in the court system for the most part. So I call it the court system. And a lot of lawyers call it the court system, not the justice system. So there is legal abuse. So if the abuser is wealthy and has a lot of money, he can take you to court. He can keep, sending you things where you have to show up in court and you need a lawyer. Well, if you don't have a lot of money, you're going to go to Legal Aid Manitoba, and we are at a shortage of family lawyers in this province. And so our Legal Aid Manitoba lawyers are very, very stressed because they have too many cases to handle at one time. And it's very frustrating. But if you want a lawyer that's not Legal Aid Manitoba, you're going to pay for it. And it is a process. It takes time, especially when there's children involved, because there's a number of things. Even if you have been separated for a year, which then you're legally allowed to get divorced, when there's children involved, you're not going to get your divorce until certain things are figured out. Child custody. Where are the children or child going to be living? Child access. Okay, if you're the primary parent, what are the access stipulations as indicated in the final order? Child support. That's a huge one. And I have yet to see an honest financial statement from an abuser. And I have done many, many of these with my clients. I've worked with over 130 women, and I have yet to see an honest financial statement. So, there's a lot of things. If the abuser does get access, do you want that access supervised at the time? Because sometimes abusers leave the relationship, or the victim leaves the relationship when the child is very, very young, and it might be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And then all of a sudden, when there's a petition for divorce, he goes, "Oh, I want to see my child." And I'm like, but the child doesn't remember who you are. And so you have to take into account what is in the best interest of the child. And so we opt for going to the Winnipeg Children's Access Agency, where there is supervised visitations, whatever you determine to be, once a week for 2 hours, once every 2 weeks for 2 hours, for several months, and just see how that's going. And a lot of times the abusive partner is like, they might show up for several months, 6 months, 11 months, and then all of a sudden they drop out of the picture, and it devastates the child.
Wow. So now, Sherry, when a child is involved, and the woman doesn't want to talk or speak out about the situation because they are afraid of calling the police, but I think that's the best option. What happened after the police has been called?
Well, there's certain reasons why you call a police. Most of it would be if your life is being threatened, you would call the police, or if your child has been threatened or hurt, you call the police.
Okay.
So you have to understand what are the parameters for calling 911 or the non-emergency police. Okay. You can go and make a report to the police, and oftentimes if they say it would be good to be recorded, then you're going to go into a private room and you're going to be video recorded. And so, is it a criminal matter that we're talking about, or is it, that you just want out of this relationship for X, Y, and Z reasons?
Okay, so let's
sometimes the police are involved and sometimes they're not.
They're not. Let's say it's an emergency. The abuser is hitting the person right now, and she calls the 911, but she's not able to provide the address, the telephone number, who she is.
Well, I mean, if I've had women run out of the house with their children with the clothes on their back, and go to a neighbor's, and that's where they make the 911 call, and so then the police will show up, and if they're able to, they'll go and try and interview the abusive partner as well. So yeah, there's just a lot of different things. Oftentimes, women will go to shelters but the shelters are often full. And it's very, very difficult. So then they're maybe couch surfing at friends' places.
Yeah, so now what happens if we don't call the police? And let's say we live in a building with a lot of apartments and our neighbors call the 911. Something's happening there. What happens?
Well, usually
next?
the police are going to come and investigate for sure.
All right.
And they will separate the two, and they'll probably take the person that's accused of doing something physical down to the police station and get some information. They might fingerprint them, but then they're released within 45 minutes usually. And so the woman is always weighing whether it's safe or not safe, like what's their best option, considering the fact that if he's going to come back into the same place where you're living, you don't want to be further abused.
Sometimes we forgive thousands of times, but if the situation happens and happens again and we have children, we must be aware. It's
a very difficult time of life.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because the police is going to call or pass the information to CFS. And we need to think about
when there's children involved, yes.
Yeah.
They have a legal obligation to. And then Anchor will be involved and they'll come out and make some reports. Yeah.
That's scary, but true. So don't be scared of calling 911 if your life is in danger. Okay, Sherry, documentation is key.
Absolutely.
What kind of documents or proofs we can keep with us?
It's kind of like my mantra, like document, document, document. Like all of my clients will know that's what Sherry says. So you got to document, like take a journal, and you can get really inexpensive lined notebooks at the dollar store. And when I say document, like write dates, names of people involved, times, the circumstances where you were and what happened, because you might need that later for your family lawyer or a criminal lawyer case. And in a criminal case, the victim will be represented by a Crown prosecutor, and she will be assigned a victim services worker to work with her. That's free. The Crown Prosecutor's job is to protect the public, above even you, to protect the public. So your case happens to come up, but they're going, is this guy a menace, or is this person a menace to society? Wow. Yeah, so there's a lot of work involved in that. But take screenshots of text messages, because they can be used in a court of law against you. You know, if you're saying, I'm going to kill you, and you've done that on TikTok or, you know, a text message, you keep that. Do not delete anything.
Can
Do
we
not
try to record the moment?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Keep all your recordings, all your text messages, all your emails, because it might be valuable to your lawyer. The other thing is, if you feel that you're being harassed by your on your cell phone, whether it's by your abuser or your abuser's family or friends or coworkers, you can go to your cell phone provider and you can say, I'm in a domestic violence relationship. This is my phone number. I am being harassed. Could you please waive the change of cell phone number? And they will do it for free. Okay. They will waive it. You just have to tell them. And I've had amazing, amazing responses from cell phone providers like Rogers and some others.
Okay, so that's really important information to know. Now, most of women, they are sharing bank accounts, or they are sharing the same, I don't know, telephone lines, right? What's your best suggestion for it? Like,
well, one of the questions that I do ask on our intake is, what's your banking like? Do you share a joint bank account? And it's about 50-50. If they share a joint bank account, I want to know how they're dividing the expenses for living. And I want to know if each of them also have their own bank accounts and what's going on there. And so sometimes I might even stop an interview and say, okay, you told me this is happening and you only have a joint account. Let's go to your bank right now and remove some money and put it in and set up your own account.
Correct. Okay.
And oftentimes, you know, within 24 hours, it's emptied. So we have to be really careful with our finances, especially when children are involved, because you know, children are cheap and we want to be able to provide with them, especially when we're the primary parent.
Correct.
And caregiver. So.
Okay, and Sherry, about S.H.A.D.E. So when S.H.A.D.E was created, and how did you create the Mirrors program? What's Mirrors program?
Okay. So Mirrors is a program within S.H.A.D.E that we offer. Mirrors is a community group 12-week workshop program that is giving knowledge about intimate partner violence to our clients, as well as it's a safe, culturally safe forum where we offer interpreters, we offer a healthy meal at the beginning, we offer free childminding, we offer free transportation. And so they're learning about what has happened to them. And we do some pretty powerful activities. It's not just, you know, the facilitator up at the front, you know, talking. There are interactive activities so that when we use as many senses as possible, we're remembering more and we're learning more. And there's a lot of aha moments on, oh, this has happened. Oh, this is what happens, especially, you know, what I already said about the different belief systems. Most people have never heard that, or most people have never heard of the cycle of violence. And so it's building up your support system. People are establishing friendships within this safe forum. And we're seeing a lot of transformational empowerment happening here, where women are going, oh, well, if you can do that, I can do that. Or, oh, I didn't know about this resource. Could you please share that information with me?
Would you like to share one successful story, but also one frustrating story, please?
Let me see. Okay, so I do have a woman who realize that she's in an abusive relationship. She's actually still in it, but they don't talk with each other, and the in-laws are still involved. And she decided, I don't think this relationship's going to go anywhere. And she was given a letter by a lawyer in this city who basically told her that she was the abuser, which is bogus. And she didn't know how she was supposed to respond. I said, you don't have to do anything. It's not a legal letter. It wasn't stamped in the Court of King's Bench, so you don't have to do anything. So she waited a couple of months, and then she was served a petition for divorce. When you're living in the same city, i.e. Winnipeg, you have 20 days to respond. And so was able to work with her to do an application for Legal Aid Manitoba, and she was approved. And that's a good thing. And so because she's got children, I helped her to work on her financial statement as well as, work with a lawyer. And this lady also realized, well, I'm just living on my Canada Child Benefit. He's not giving me any money, yet he still lives in the same home. She's got 2 kids. And so she's living on bare bones. And I don't know how she does it, but she is also going to school, and she's becoming a healthcare aide, and she's in her final stages, just finishing up her practicum, and her prof knows what's going on, and she is going to get a full-time job within the next month, I think. So I'm just really, really pleased. And she says she's gained so much support by me being in the Mirrors program and being with other women and being able to hear what they're going through, as well as being able to share what she's going through. Pretty powerful, strong lady, as far as I'm concerned.
Perfect. And something frustrated, because I know that you go with them to the court, and maybe most of these women give up.
Well,
I don't know.
I don't know about most of them give up. At times, it becomes so burdensome that you feel like giving up, for sure. That's why you need support, and you need professionals that understand where you're coming from. You need trauma and violence-informed professionals to support you. But, frustrating things are when I have seen women get out even for 2 years, and then they go back to their abusive relationship. And it oftentimes happens around income tax time, because the abuser wants to claim them as married and get more money in their pockets. So, there's for sure frustrations when women return to their abusive relationship.
Good. Do you think the government should try to fix something with the court system that you mentioned, like educate our lawyers, the judges, and what do you think about it?
Well, I mean, now in Canada, there's definitely the push for judges, especially, to be informed and take some training. I don't know if it's on a yearly basis, on coercive and controlling behavior, so that they understand when, they've got individuals and their lawyers representing them, what the dynamics are. And oftentimes the judge can pretty much figure it out if the abuser doesn't allow his lawyer to talk, and he jumps up and starts saying ridiculous things in court. And, judges are pretty astute. They've been lawyers. Judges have been lawyers for years. So, and oftentimes family law lawyers. So they've earned the right to become judges, and they watch behavior in the courtroom. So we just need more and more and more education surrounding coercive and controlling behavior, so that abusers don't continue the legal abuse and continue putting our women at risk financially because of more and more claims against them, that they have to exhaust themselves just emotionally, physically, and financially.
Correct. So, Sherry, before we finalize, is there anything else that you would like to add, mention, or just an advice for the viewers?
It's really important to manage your own trauma responses. Definitely, if you've been in an abusive relationship for a long time, you've got triggers, Triggers may be anniversary dates. They may be things to do with when you get invoices about how much money you owe to your credit card or a line of credit, or from a bank that your mortgage hasn't been paid for several months and you owe money. All those things are definitely triggers, and very understandably so. But we need to be able to manage our trauma responses and, go get some help, whether it's in a community group like our Mirrors program or, one-on-one support. It's very, very helpful. Read books too. Like, talk to people. Start not isolating yourself. Start talking, speaking up, because silence thrives, or abuse thrives on silence, I should say.
Correct. So, and also let's try to recognize those red flags before move forward. Sherry, so S.H.A.D.E is a charity, but how S.H.A.D.E is surviving right now, and what kind of support do you need?
We need lots of financial support. We need support to hire a caseworker. We need support just to keep doing the work that we do and have been doing for the last 6 years. So
yeah,
we're surviving on a hair strand.
So if you're watching this interview, please don't forget that you can send a donation to this wonderful charity that is doing a lot for a woman here in Winnipeg and surrounding areas. Sherry, lastly, how can people reach you or reach S.H.A.D.E?
That's a good question. So we do have a website that you can reach out, and you can self-refer, as well as we're on, we have an Instagram account and a Facebook account, but the Instagram is used more often. And you can go to, any other professional, like the Winnipeg Women's Health Clinic refers to us. Seven Oaks Immigrant Services refers to us. Sometimes officers on the beat, when they're answering a domestic violence call and you're an immigrant or a refugee woman at least, they will actually refer to call me and give my business card or my phone number out. So, but definitely you can self-refer.
Okay,
that's what I want to say.
And thank you so much for watching this interview. I hope the information provided was interesting and helpful for you today. Don't forget to follow Multicultural channel on Facebook, YouTube, and all our social media. Thank you so much. See you next time.